Before you scroll past this, I need you to hear one thing. Somebody prayed for you to find this video today, and you didn't stumble onto it by accident. What you're about to hear is not a routine devotional. It is a spiritual weapon disguised as a morning prayer, and if you receive it the way it's being released, your entire day is about to shift direction. Stay with me until the end, because the strongest part of this decree comes later, and I promise you, if you leave early, you will miss the very words assigned to break what's been holding you back. So take a breath, silence the noise around you, and let's step into this together. Here is the truth most people never learn until it's too late. Whoever controls the first hour of the day controls the atmosphere of everything that follows. Scripture puts it plainly in the book of Job, where God asks Job whether he has ever commanded the morning or shown the dawn its place. That question was never rhetorical. It was an invitation. It tells us that the morning is not neutral ground. It is territory, and territory is either claimed or lost. Most people wake up reactive. They check their phone. They absorb bad news. They carry yesterday's weight into today, and they wonder why nothing changes. But you are not going to be like most people this morning. You are going to command this day before it commands you. The prophet writing in Lamentations understood something we forget too easily, that God's mercy toward us doesn't run out overnight and reload once a week. It is renewed every single morning. That means whatever failed yesterday does not get to define today. Whatever door closed last night does not get to stay closed. Whatever voice spoke against you while you slept has no authority over the mercy that just woke up with you. So right now, out loud if you can, or quietly in your spirit if you can't, say this after me. Today is not a continuation of my worst days. Today is a fresh mercy with my name written on it. I want to talk to you about something that might be happening to you right now, without you even realizing it. A kind of heaviness that greets you before your feet hit the floor. Not sadness exactly, just weight, dread with no clear source. If that's you, listen closely, because there is a reason the enemy of your peace targets the morning specifically. He knows that if he can plant discouragement in the first 10 minutes of your day, it will color the next 16 hours. That is why we are not doing a passive prayer today. We are doing a confrontation. Psalm 91 promises that you will not need to fear the terror that comes at night or the arrow that flies in daylight, not because bad things stop existing, but because you are covered by something greater than their reach. Say it with me. I am not afraid of what tries to meet me today, because what surrounds me is stronger than what stalks me. Let's go deeper into what it means to actually decree, because a lot of people say, I declare, without understanding the weight behind it. In the book of Job, we're told that God shakes the wicked out of the earth by the dawn itself. The morning is described as a force strong enough to grab the corners of the world and shake evil loose from its grip. That's the kind of authority you're stepping into right now, not a suggestion, not a hopeful wish, a command backed by covenant. So with that understanding, declare this over your life. Every trap set for me overnight collapses under its own weight. Every plan built to slow me down runs out of time before it reaches me. Now I want to bring you to a place many teachers skip past too quickly, the blood. Revelation tells us that believers overcame the accuser through the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Notice it's both the blood and the voice. The blood was already shed. That part is finished. But the testimony, the actual speaking, that part is yours to do. Silence doesn't activate covenant. Your voice does. So don't just read these words in your head. Speak them, even under your breath. By that blood, I am covered where I am weak. By that blood, mercy is speaking where judgment tried to take the stand. By that blood, life is being announced over places where death had already made an appointment. I told you the strongest part of this was coming later, and here it is, so don't check out now. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from feeling like you're always defending yourself, defending your name, your reputation, your character against things people say when you're not in the room. Psalm 120 gives us the language for this exact moment. Deliver my life, Lord, from lying lips and from a deceiving tongue. That's not weakness, asking for that. That's wisdom. Because some battles were never meant to be fought with your own words. They were meant to be handed over. So hand it over right now. Every conversation happening about you that isn't true, let it lose its power the moment it leaves someone's mouth. Every misrepresentation aimed at your character, let it fail to stick. Let's talk about timing, because I know some of you are tired of waiting. Ecclesiastes reminds us that everything has an appointed season, that nothing under heaven happens outside of its proper time. If you've been believing for something and it hasn't shown up yet, that is not proof it isn't coming. It's proof the clock hasn't finished its count. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Delay is not denial. What has been assigned to your life is still assigned to your life. So speak this over your waiting season. I am not behind. I am positioned. What is mine is being prepared, not withheld. I want to shift now towards something practical, because spiritual authority isn't only for crisis moments, it's for ordinary Tuesdays too. Proverbs tells us that a person's steps are established, ordered, directed by something greater than their own planning. That means the small decisions today, who you talk to, what door you walk through, what opportunity crosses your path. None of that is random when you've already given the day over in prayer. So as you move through today, trust that your steps are being ordered even in the parts that feel mundane, the meeting that seems unimportant, the message you almost didn't answer, the delay in traffic. None of it is wasted when you've already claimed the morning. Now, for those of you who feel like your strength ran out before the day even started, Isaiah has a promise built specifically for this moment. Those who wait, who hope, who put their trust in the Lord will find their strength renewed, not manufactured through willpower, but renewed, like something being restored rather than forced. You will run and not grow weary. You will walk and not become faint. If you're running on empty this morning, that promise is not poetic decoration. It's a resource you're allowed to draw from right now. So receive it. My strength is being renewed in this moment, not because I found more of it myself, but because I stopped trying to manufacture it alone. Let's move into something many of you have been silently carrying, the weight of provision. Not greed, not excess, just the quiet stress of wondering if there will be enough. Philippians tells us that every need will be supplied according to a richness that isn't measured by our own bank account, but by a much larger resource entirely. That distinction matters. Your supply was never meant to be limited to what you personally can produce in a week. Deuteronomy speaks of a blessing that overtakes, not one you have to chase down, but one that catches up to you while you're simply walking forward in obedience. So speak this over your finances this morning. What is owed to me is being released. What has been delayed on my behalf is finding its way to me. I am not walking toward provision. Provision is walking toward me. If you've ever felt like your work goes unnoticed, like effort disappears into a system that doesn't seem to see you, I want to remind you of something written in the 90th Psalm, a request that the work of our hands would be established, made to last, not wasted on things that crumble the moment we look away. Say this with conviction: the effort I put in today will not evaporate. What I build will still be standing when I come back to check on it. My labor is producing something that outlives the labor itself. And if you've ever wondered whether the quiet consistency you bring to your work actually matters, understand this: nothing done in faithfulness goes unrecorded. The years you spent showing up when no one applauded you are being converted into something that will eventually speak louder than any applause could have. Now let's turn toward the body, because so much of what we carry mentally shows up physically, and healing is not a side conversation. It's central to this morning. Psalm 103 reminds us of a God who forgives, who heals, who redeems life from the pit and crowns it with steadfast love. Notice the order: forgiveness first, then healing. Because sometimes the body carries what the spirit hasn't released yet. So this morning, release what you've been carrying and receive what's being offered in its place. Speak healing over whatever in your body feels tired, worn down, or uncertain. Malachi describes a sun of righteousness rising with healing in its wings, not as a metaphor to admire, but as an invitation to stand under. Stand under it this morning. Let it reach whatever part of you has been quietly struggling without anyone else knowing. I want to speak specifically to the exhaustion that doesn't show up on a scan or a lab report, the kind that lives in your shoulders, in your jaw, in the way you sleep but still wake up tired. That kind of weariness is real, and it deserves more than being ignored. So this morning, before you reach for another cup of coffee to push through it, receive an actual releasing of that tension. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing slow down. Whatever your body has been bracing against, it doesn't have to brace against it today. Speak this. My body is allowed to rest even while my life keeps moving. Healing isn't only for emergencies, it's for the slow, quiet wear and tear too, and I receive it for that as much as anything else. Let's talk about the people you love, because your peace was never meant to be isolated from theirs. Isaiah promises that the children of those who are taught by the Lord will have great peace, not chaos, not constant conflict, but an inheritance of stability passed down rather than fought for every single day. If your household has felt like a battlefield lately, speak this over it. The tension in my home is not permanent. The distance between the people I love is closing, not widening. Peace is being restored to my household the way it's being restored to me. If there's a relationship in your life right now that feels strained past the point of repair, a parent who won't speak to you, a sibling who misunderstood something years ago and never let it go, a friendship that quietly faded and neither of you knows how to bring it back, I want you to receive something specific this morning. Reconciliation is still on the table. Proverbs reminds us that when a person's ways please the Lord, even their enemies are made to be at peace with them. That doesn't mean every relationship gets restored exactly the way it was, but it does mean bitterness doesn't get the final say. Speak this. What feels broken between me and someone I love is not beyond repair. I release the outcome, but I don't release the hope. I want to acknowledge something else many of you are carrying quietly. The fatigue of feeling like you have to defend your peace constantly, like there's always some form of resistance showing up right when things start to go well. That resistance is real, and Scripture doesn't pretend otherwise. Ephesians describes armor for a reason, not because peace is naturally combat-free, but because it's worth defending. So put it on this morning, not physically, but in posture. Decide before the day starts that you are not walking into it defenseless. Speak this. I am equipped for whatever resistance shows up today. Opposition does not get to catch me unprepared. Let's address something that keeps a lot of people stuck without them even realizing it. Repeating patterns. The same disappointment, the same type of conflict, the same financial shortfall, showing up again and again like it's on a loop. Psalm 30 gives us language for this. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning. That's not just poetic comfort, it's a pattern interrupt. It says the night season has a scheduled end. If you've been stuck in a cycle, this morning is positioned to be the interruption. Speak it. This cycle ends here. What kept repeating does not get to repeat again. I am not walking into a copy of last month. I am walking into something new. There's a promise tucked into the story of Joseph that I think about often. How he was forgotten in a prison for years, and then remembered in a single morning. And that single morning changed the entire trajectory of his life. If you feel forgotten right now, overlooked for the opportunity, passed over for the promotion, unseen by the people who could open doors for you, I want you to receive this. Remembrance is coming. Not because you're going to manufacture it through more effort, but because the same God who remembered Joseph in one morning has not forgotten your name either. Speak this. I am remembered today. Doors that stayed closed are opening because someone finally thought of me at the right moment. Now let's talk about protection, because peace of mind is often the first thing that gets stolen from us, long before anything actually goes wrong. Psalm 91 tells us that angels are given charge over us, to guard us in all our ways. Not some of our ways, not just the big decisions, but all of them, including the small, ordinary moments that make up most of a day. So release the anxiety of what could go wrong today. Speak this instead. I am covered on my way out and covered on my way back in. Nothing assigned to interrupt my day will succeed. I move through this day under watch, not under threat. Let's bring this into direct confrontation for a moment, because soft prayers don't always match the size of what people are actually up against. Isaiah 54 makes a bold promise that no weapon formed against you will succeed, and that you will have authority to answer every accusation raised against you. That's not passive language. That's combat language, spoken over ordinary mornings because some mornings need it. So if there's an accusation sitting on you right now, something said about you, something whispered about your character, something that's made you question your own worth, silence it this morning. Speak this. Every accusation loses its power the moment I stop agreeing with it. What was meant to define me does not get the final word. I do. I want to slow down here because this next part matters more than it might sound like at first. A lot of what keeps people stuck isn't outside opposition. It's internal agreement with a false narrative. Somewhere along the way, disappointment convinced you that this is just how your life goes, that good things happen to other people, not to you. That's not truth. That's fatigue talking, and fatigue is not a reliable narrator. So this morning, break agreement with that story. Speak this out loud. I withdraw agreement from every narrative that says I don't get to have good things. I am not the exception to blessing. I am not disqualified from breakthrough. My story has not finished being written, and the next chapter does not match the last one. Romans reminds us that all things work together for good for those who love God. Not that all things are good, but that all things get worked into something good, eventually, in time. That distinction has carried people through seasons that made no sense in the moment. So if this season doesn't make sense to you right now, that's allowed. You don't need to understand it to trust that it's being worked into something. Speak this. What doesn't make sense to me right now is still being assembled into something that will make sense later. I don't need the full picture today. I need the next step, and I have it. Let's talk for a moment about comparison, because I think it quietly steals more peace than almost anything else does. It's easy to wake up, look at where someone else is in life, and feel like you're behind on a timeline you didn't even agree to. But Galatians reminds us to test our own work, our own progress, without measuring it against someone else's race. Your timeline was never meant to match theirs. What looks like delay from the outside might actually be preparation happening exactly on schedule. Speak this. I release the pressure of someone else's pace. My race has its own clock, and I trust the one who set it. Let's lift our voice now into worship, because everything we've spoken so far deserves a response, not just agreement. Psalm 92 tells us it's good to give thanks in the morning and faithfulness at night, that gratitude isn't just a nice add-on. It's a rhythm meant to bookend our days. So take a moment right now, wherever you are, and just say thank you. Not for what you're hoping will happen, for what already has, for being here, for another morning, for mercy that didn't run out overnight. Thank you for strength that's being renewed even now. Thank you for provision that's already in motion. Thank you for healing that's already been spoken. Thank you for protection over people you love. Thank you for a story that isn't finished. Take one more moment here, because gratitude tends to open something that striving never can. Think back, even briefly, to a version of your life 5 years ago that would have been amazed by parts of where you are now, even the parts that still feel unfinished. Growth rarely announces itself while it's happening. It's usually only visible in hindsight. So thank God not just for where you're going, but for how far you've already come, even on the days it doesn't feel like enough. As we come to the end of this time together, I want you to gather everything we've spoken and hold it as one declaration, not scattered pieces. Say this slowly and mean it. Today, mercy is new, not recycled from yesterday. Today, my steps are ordered, even in the parts that feel small. Today, my strength is being renewed, not manufactured by my own effort. Today, the lies spoken about me lose their grip the moment I stop repeating them myself. Today, the cycle that kept repeating finds its end. Today, provision moves toward me instead of me chasing it down. Today, healing reaches the parts of me nobody else can see. Today, peace is restored in my home, not just in my head. Today, I am remembered by the people and opportunities that matter. Today, I am covered on my way out and covered on my way back in. Today, what feels broken between me and someone I love is not beyond repair. Today, I release the pressure of someone else's pace, and I trust my own. Today, I command this morning instead of letting it command me. Receive this not as wishful language, but as covenant, because the same faithfulness that renewed mercy every single morning for every generation before you is renewing it for you, right now, in this exact moment, whether you feel it yet or not. Feelings catch up to truth. They always do. So stand on the truth first and let the feeling follow later in its own time. Before we close completely, I want to leave you with one more thought, because I don't want this to just be something you heard and moved past. Real change doesn't usually come from one dramatic moment. It comes from the same truth spoken over and over until it finally outweighs the noise that's been speaking longer. So if this is the first time you're hearing words like these, don't expect one video to undo years of a different narrative. But if you come back tomorrow and the day after and let this become a rhythm instead of a one-time event, that's where the real shift happens. Consistency is what turns a decree into a lifestyle. I want to go back for a moment to something I mentioned earlier, sleep, and what happens in the hours before you even open your eyes. A lot of people wake up already tired, not from lack of hours, but from the quality of what filled those hours. Restless dreams, a mind that never fully powered down, a body that stayed tense even while lying still. Psalm 127 tells us that God gives sleep to those he loves, which means rest itself is meant to be a gift, not a battle you fight every single night. So speak this over your sleep tonight in advance before it even arrives. My rest is protected. My mind is allowed to actually shut off. Whatever tried to disturb my sleep before does not get access tonight. Let's talk about dreams for a moment, both the kind you have while sleeping and the kind you carry while awake. If you've been having unsettling dreams, chaos, chasing, conflict, things that leave you waking up more tired than when you laid down, I want you to receive peace over that specifically. You are allowed to ask for your sleep to be undisturbed, and you are allowed to expect it. And for the dreams you carry while awake, the goals, the vision, the thing you haven't told many people about because you're afraid of how long it's taking, that vision is not dead. Habakkuk tells us to write the vision down and make it plain, because even though it tarries, it will not lie. It's still coming. It just hasn't arrived on your preferred schedule yet. Now let's address something that shows up in almost every season of growth: resistance right before breakthrough. If you've noticed that things have gotten harder right as you started taking your goals seriously, right as you started praying more intentionally, right as you started believing again after a long stretch of doubt, that's not a coincidence, and it's not a sign to stop. Often the resistance intensifies closest to the door, not because you're failing, but because you're close. James tells us to consider it pure joy when we face trials, because the testing of our faith produces endurance, and endurance finishes what it starts. So if today has resistance built into it, don't read that as a bad sign. Speak this instead. Resistance does not mean I'm off track. It might mean I'm closer than I realize. I want to speak now to anyone who has been carrying guilt over things that already happened. Decisions you'd take back if you could, words you wish you hadn't said, seasons you wasted that you can't get back. Guilt has a way of attaching itself to the morning specifically, whispering that you don't deserve a fresh start because of what happened before. But 1 John tells us plainly that if we confess, we are forgiven and cleansed from all unrighteousness, not most of it, not the parts that seem forgivable, all of it. So release what you've been holding on to. Speak this: I am not disqualified by my past. What I confessed has already been cleared. I am allowed to walk into today without dragging yesterday's guilt behind me. Let's talk about your career, your work, the place you spend most of your waking hours, because that deserves covering too, not just your personal life. If you've felt overlooked at work, passed over for recognition that should have gone to you, or stuck in a role that no longer fits the growth you've experienced, I want you to receive movement over that this morning. Colossians reminds us to work as though working for the Lord, not for people. Because the reward doesn't ultimately come from the people who overlook you. It comes from a source they don't control. Speak this. My advancement is not dependent on who notices me. What is due to me is coming, whether or not the right person has recognized it yet. For those of you carrying the weight of decisions, a fork in the road, a choice you don't know how to make, two options that both come with risk, I want you to receive clarity, not more confusion. James tells us that if anyone lacks wisdom, they can ask, and it will be given generously, without being found fault with for asking. That means you're allowed to not know the answer yet, and still ask boldly for it. Speak this. Clarity is coming for the decision I've been sitting on. I will not have to guess my way through this. Wisdom is available to me, and I receive it. I want to speak briefly to those of you who feel isolated in what you're carrying, like no one around you fully understands the weight of this season. That kind of loneliness is heavy in a specific way, because it's not just about missing company. It's about feeling unseen in your struggle. But Psalm 34 tells us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Closeness, not distance. Presence, not silence. So even in isolation, you are not actually alone. Speak this. I am not carrying this by myself, even in the moments it feels that way. What I can't say out loud to anyone else is already known and already held. Let's turn now toward generational patterns, because some of what you're fighting through didn't start with you. Maybe it's a pattern of financial struggle that's run through your family for generations. Maybe it's a pattern of broken relationships, or health issues, or people in your bloodline never quite reaching what they were capable of. Whatever that pattern has been, this morning is an opportunity to be the one it stops with. Exodus speaks about generational patterns, but it also speaks about mercy extending far beyond that, to those who love and walk in what's right. Speak this. What has repeated in my family does not have to repeat in me. I am not obligated to inherit what I did not choose. I am the one it stops with. I want to bring you back to worship one more time before we close, because everything spoken today deserves to be sealed in gratitude rather than left as just a list of requests. Take a slow breath and just thank God, not for anything specific this time, just for who He is, for being present in the middle of ordinary Tuesdays and not just dramatic moments, for being consistent even when you weren't, for mercy that doesn't run out no matter how many mornings you've needed it. Thank Him for the parts of your story He's already written, and thank Him in advance for the parts still coming. As we bring this to a close, I want to leave you with a final, complete declaration, one that pulls together everything spoken over you this morning. Say it slowly, and let each line land before moving to the next. Today, mercy is new. Today, my rest is protected and my mind is allowed to be still. Today, the vision I've been carrying is still alive, even if it hasn't arrived yet. Today, resistance does not mean I'm failing. It might mean I'm close. Today, I am not disqualified by my past because what I confessed has already been cleared. Today, my advancement does not depend on who notices me. Today, clarity is available for the decision I've been avoiding. Today, I am not carrying this alone, even in the moments it feels that way. Today, what repeated in my family stops with me. Today, I command this morning instead of letting it command me, and I receive everything spoken here not as wishful thinking, but as truth I am standing on until it becomes what I see. Before I let you go, I want to address one more thing directly, because I know some of you came into this morning not just tired, but genuinely under pressure, the kind where it feels like everything is happening at once, and you can't tell anymore which fire to put out first. If that's you, hear this clearly. You are not required to solve everything today. Matthew reminds us that each day has enough trouble of its own, which means you were never meant to carry tomorrow's weight on top of today's. So set tomorrow down. You don't need it yet. Speak this. Today only asks what today requires. I release what belongs to tomorrow, and I focus only on what's in front of me right now. I also want to speak to the version of you that keeps apologizing for needing rest, for needing a slower season, for not having everything figured out on the same timeline as everyone else around you. There's nothing weak about needing recovery. Even the created order includes a day of rest, built in on purpose, not as an afterthought, but as part of the design. If you've been pushing through exhaustion because stopping feels like falling behind, I want to release you from that pressure this morning. Speak this. Rest is not the opposite of progress. It is part of it. I am allowed to slow down without losing what I've been building. And finally, before we close, I want to speak to whatever specific thing you've been silently praying about that I don't know and can't name. The thing you haven't said out loud to anyone. The request that feels almost too specific or too personal to bring into a general prayer like this one. God already knows exactly what it is, down to the detail. So whatever you're holding right now, hand it over one more time. Not because you haven't already asked, but because sometimes the releasing itself is what shifts something. Speak this quietly, just for you. You know exactly what I need. Even the part I haven't said out loud. I trust you with it completely. Today and every day after this one. If this met you exactly where you needed it today, that wasn't an accident either. You didn't find this video randomly, and you didn't stay until the end by accident. Take these words with you into whatever this day holds. The meeting you're nervous about, the conversation you've been avoiding, the waiting room you've been sitting in far longer than you expected. None of it catches you unprepared anymore. This is your morning. You already commanded it. Now go live like you believe it. And if you'll be back tomorrow to do this again, let me know by staying connected. Because mornings like this one are meant to be a rhythm, not a one-time moment.